What if Sidious's death united the Jedi? Let's explore the depths of it in the video. The office of Supreme Chancellor Palpatine sits in silence, the massive windows overlooking Coruscant's endless cityscape. The war rages across the galaxy. But here, in the heart of Republic power, everything seems calm, controlled, perfect. Anakin Skywalker stands in the doorway, his mechanical hand clenching and unclenching. He came here for guidance, for wisdom, for the reassurance that only Palpatine seemed able to provide. Instead, he found something else. Something that made his blood run cold. The Chancellor sits at his desk, his back to Anakin, watching the city lights flicker in the growing dusk. You're troubled, young Skywalker. I can sense it. The dreams have returned, haven't they? Yes. Anakin's voice is barely a whisper. Padme, I see her dying. I see myself unable to save her. Just like my mother. The Chancellor rises slowly, his robes rustling in the quiet room. There is a way to save her, you know. The Jedi won't teach you, but I can. The Force can be used to influence the midi-chlorians, to create life, to prevent death. How do you know this? Because I've studied it, Anakin. I've studied many things the Jedi fear. Things they've tried to hide, to suppress, because they're afraid of true power. The Chancellor turns, and in the fading light, his face seems different. Sharper, more angular. His eyes catch the light strangely, reflecting a yellow tinge. The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural. Anakin takes a step back, his hand moving instinctively toward his lightsaber. You're a Sith Lord. The smile that crosses Palpatine's face is not the kindly grandfather's expression Anakin has grown accustomed to. It's something predatory, ancient, and utterly without mercy. I am so much more than that, young Skywalker. I am the dark side. I am the Senate. I am the Republic. I am the war. Every battle you fought, every clone that's died, every separatist droid destroyed, all of it has been my design. You orchestrated everything. The invasion of Naboo, the creation of the clone army, this entire war. Finally, you begin to see. And soon, very soon, the last piece will fall into place. The Jedi will be destroyed. The Republic will be reorganized into the first galactic empire. And you, my young apprentice, will help me bring order to the galaxy. I'll never join you. Palpatine's laugh is like broken glass. Oh, but you will. Because if you don't, Padme dies. Your children die. Everyone you've ever cared about will suffer. But if you serve me, I will teach you to save them. I will give you the power to protect everything you love. Anakin's mind races. The prophecy, the chosen one, bringing balance to the Force. In this moment, standing before the embodiment of the dark side, he understands what balance truly means. Not the destruction of the Sith while the Jedi reign supreme, but true equilibrium, light and dark acknowledged, understood, neither allowed to dominate. You're wrong. His voice is steady now, certain. You don't have that power. No one does. Death is natural. It's part of the Force. And trying to control it, trying to cheat it, that's what leads to the dark side. Qui-Gon taught me that before he died. Palpatine's expression darkens. Qui-Gon Jinn was a fool, who died for his foolishness, just as you will die for yours. The Sith Lord's hand shoots forward, Force lightning crackling from his fingertips. Anakin's lightsaber ignites in a flash of blue, catching the lightning on his blade. The energy crackles and hisses, illuminating the office in stark, dancing shadows. "You were supposed to be my greatest weapon," Palpatine snarls, unleashing more power. "You were supposed to help me destroy the Jedi and rule the galaxy. I was supposed to bring balance to the Force, and that means destroying you." Anakin pushes forward, his blade cutting through the lightning stream. Palpatine leaps backward with inhuman speed, his own crimson lightsaber igniting with a snap hiss that sends chills down Anakin's spine. The duel begins in earnest. Palpatine moves like a serpent, his blade whirling in complex patterns that seem to come from all directions at once. His style is ancient, refined over centuries of Sith knowledge, incorporating elements of all 7 forms. He strikes high, then low, then from the side, each attack flowing into the next with deadly precision. Anakin defends with Form 5, his preferred Gem-So technique, using powerful counterattacks to drive Palpatine back. Their blades meet with explosive force, sending sparks cascading across the office. Furniture shatters as they move. Priceless artifacts from 1,000 worlds destroyed in seconds. "You've learned well," Palpatine hisses, his blade nearly taking Anakin's head. "Obi-Wan taught you to be predictable, to follow the forms precisely, but I taught you to think, to adapt, to use your passion." Anakin doesn't respond, focusing entirely on the fight. He can feel the dark side radiating from Palpatine like heat from a furnace. It's intoxicating, tempting, whispering promises of power. But he also feels something else. The light side, flowing through him, centered and calm. His training with Obi-Wan, his love for Padme, his loyalty to his friends, all of it grounds him. Palpatine unleashes another blast of lightning. But this time, Anakin doesn't block it with his lightsaber. He extends his organic hand and catches the lightning, absorbing it through the Force. Palpatine's eyes widen in genuine surprise. "Impossible. You haven't been trained in that technique." "I learn quickly." Anakin releases the energy back at Palpatine, not as lightning, but as a pure Force push. The Sith Lord flies backward, crashing through his desk and into the wall behind. For a moment, he looks old, frail, vulnerable. Then he rises, and the mask is gone completely. His face is a twisted mass of rage and hate, his eyes burning yellow with Sith power. "You dare! You insignificant slave. I offered you everything. Power, immortality, the ability to save those you love, and you threw it back in my face." He rushes forward with blinding speed, his lightsaber moving so fast it becomes a blur of red light. Anakin barely keeps up, his blade meeting each strike by instinct rather than conscious thought. They crash through the office doors and into the corridor beyond. Senate guards rush forward to help their chancellor. But Palpatine cuts them down without breaking stride, their bodies nothing but obstacles in his path. "Your compassion is your weakness, young Skywalker. Those men were loyal to me, and I killed them without a thought. That is true power. That's not power, that's just cruelty." They trade positions, Anakin now on the offensive, driving Palpatine back toward the Chancellor's private chambers. His attacks are relentless, fueled not by rage, but by purpose. Every strike is precise, calculated, drawing on the lessons of every master who ever taught him. Qui-Gon's wisdom, Obi-Wan's discipline, Ahsoka's creativity, even Palpatine's own teachings on adaptation. Palpatine begins to slow, his movements becoming more defensive. For all his power, he's still in an aging body, and Anakin is in his prime. The Sith Lord's breathing becomes labored, his attacks less precise. "You cannot win," he gasps. "Even if you kill me, even if you destroy me, the damage is done." The war has already devastated the galaxy. The Jedi are spread thin across 1,000 worlds, and my final command has already been prepared. With a single word, every clone trooper in the galaxy will turn on their Jedi generals. Order 66 will be executed, and the Jedi will be extinct. Not if I stop you here. Now, Anakin feints high, then strikes low, his lightsaber cutting through Palpatine's defense. The Sith Lord tries to dodge, but he's too slow. Anakin's blade catches him across the chest, burning through his robes and into flesh. Palpatine staggers, dropping his lightsaber. His hands come up, lightning crackling between his fingers, but the energy is weak, unfocused. He falls to his knees, yellow eyes glaring up at Anakin with pure hatred. "You think you've won? Even now, my influence spreads across the galaxy. My agents, my followers, my carefully laid plans. You've killed me, but you cannot kill what I've created. Maybe not, but I can try." In a single, clean stroke, Anakin drives his lightsaber through Palpatine's heart. The Sith Lord's eyes widen, his mouth opening in a silent scream. Then, his body begins to disintegrate, dark side energy pouring from him like smoke. The very air seems to scream as decades of accumulated darkness is released all at once. And across the galaxy, every Force-sensitive being feels it. On Utapau, Obi-Wan Kenobi is riding his Varactyl, pursuing General Grievous through the massive sinkhole city. His clone troopers, led by Commander Cody, follow in their gunships. Obi-Wan's lightsaber clashes with Grievous's 4 blades, the cyborg general laughing mechanically as they duel across the platform. Then it hits, a wave of darkness, of malevolence, of pure concentrated evil, washing over him through the Force. Obi-Wan stumbles, nearly losing his balance. Grievous sees the opening and presses his attack, but Obi-Wan recovers in time, parrying the strikes. But something else is happening. Behind him, Commander Cody raises his hand to his helmet, his eyes distant. A voice echoes in his head, barely audible, trying to force its way through. "Execute Order 66. His finger moves toward the trigger, toward the button that will command his men to fire on Obi-Wan. But the voice is weak, broken, dying. The inhibitor chip in Cody's brain activates, sending electricity through his neural pathways, trying to override his free will. Cody's hand shakes. His vision blurs. He sees 2 realities simultaneously. One where he murders his general, his friend, the man who saved his life countless times, and one where he doesn't. The chip tries to force the first reality into existence, but without Sidious's full power behind it, without that overwhelming dark side presence commanding it, the chip falters. Cody's hand drops. His vision clears. He shakes his head, confused and disoriented. "Sir? Are you all right?" Obi-Wan turns, seeing his commander's concerned expression. "Something's happened, Cody. Something massive. The Sith Lord I've been sensing throughout this war. I think he just died." Across the galaxy, similar scenes play out. On Kashyyyk, Yoda is leading Wookiee forces against droid battalions when the wave hits him. The ancient Jedi Master drops his cane, his ears flattening against his head. Centuries of experience, of training, of discipline allow him to process what he's feeling faster than any other Jedi. "Gone," he whispers. "The shadow over the galaxy. Lifted it has been, but too late. It may be." His clone commander, Gree, approaches. "Sir, I just received a strange transmission. Some kind of command code, but it cut off halfway through. My chip. It activated for a second, then died." Gree's face is pale, terrified. "Sir, I think I was about to kill you." Yoda looks at him with ancient, understanding eyes. "But did not. You did. Stronger than the programming, your will was. Remember this. You should. Proof it is that no one, slave to another, must be." On Felucia, Aayla Secura is coordinating her troops through the dense, fungal forests when she feels the disturbance. She gasps, tears streaming down her face. The darkness that had been pressing on her for so long, making every day feel like swimming through tar, suddenly lifts. For the first time in years, the Force feels clean. Her clone troopers, Bly and his men, all suddenly clutch their heads, groaning in pain. Their inhibitor chips activate, sending the order to execute their general. But the order is incomplete, corrupted. The chips short-circuit, sending feedback through the clones' brains. They drop to their knees, weapons falling from their hands. Commander Bly looks up at Aayla, confusion and fear in his eyes. "General, what's happening to us?" Aayla kneels beside him, placing a gentle hand on his shoulder. "Something terrible was about to happen, Commander, but I think it's been stopped." On Migito, Ki-Adi-Mundi pauses mid-command, his tall head turning as he senses the shift. On Cato Neimoidia, Plo Koon's fighter wobbles as the Keldor Jedi Master reels from the sensation. On Salukami, Stas Ali brings her speeder to a stop, unable to continue as the weight of what she's feeling threatens to overwhelm her. On Coruscant, in the Jedi Temple, dozens of Jedi simultaneously stop what they're doing. Younglings in training drop their practice sabers. Knights pause mid-meditation. Masters in the council chamber rise to their feet, all looking at each other with the same question in their eyes. What just happened? Mace Windu is the first to speak, his deep voice cutting through the confusion. A great darkness has been lifted from the Force. A Sith Lord, perhaps the Sith Lord, has just died. Shakti steps forward, her montrals twitching as she extends her senses. Not just died, Master Windu was killed. I can feel the violence of it, the finality. Whoever ended this threat did so in combat. Kit Fisto's always-present smile fades. Should we be celebrating, or concerned that something powerful enough to kill a Sith Lord is out there? Mace considers this. Both, perhaps. Luminara Unduli speaks up, her calm voice a counterpoint to the growing tension. We should reach out to our forces across the galaxy. If a Sith Lord has fallen, there may be repercussions. Already, the temple's communications center is lighting up with reports. Clone commanders reporting malfunctions in their equipment. Jedi generals reporting strange sensations, near misses, moments where their troops almost turned on them, but didn't. And from the Chancellor's office, there is only silence. Back in Palpatine's ruined chambers, Anakin stands over the dissolving corpse of the Sith Lord. His lightsaber is still ignited, its blue glow the only light in the darkening room. His entire body trembles, adrenaline still flooding his system. Did I just do that? Did I really just kill the Supreme Chancellor? His comlink buzzes. Anakin! His master's voice, urgent and concerned. What's happened? I felt something through the Force, something massive. Master, I need you to come to the Chancellor's office. Now, bring the Council, all of them. Anakin, what have you done? What I had to do, what the Force required of me. Just come, please. While he waits, Anakin begins to look around the office more carefully. Now that the fight is over, now that his adrenaline is fading, he can see things he missed before. The office is much larger than it appeared, with hidden chambers behind false walls. One of these chambers is open, the door hanging askew from where Palpatine emerged during their fight. Anakin steps inside and freezes. The hidden room is a shrine to the dark side. Sith holocrons line the walls, their surfaces pulsing with faint red light. Ancient artifacts. Some he recognizes from his studies, others, completely foreign, are arranged on pedestals. Scrolls and datapads are stacked haphazardly on a desk made from what looks like bone. And in the center of the room, suspended in a stasis field, is a Sith mask. Not Palpatine's face, but something older, more terrible. Anakin doesn't touch anything, but he uses his comlink to start recording. The Jedi Council will need to see this. All of it. In another chamber, he finds communications equipment, holographic recordings of conversations with Count Dooku, with General Grievous, with separatist leaders. Plans for the war laid out in meticulous detail. Every battle, every strategic decision, all of it, orchestrated by one man playing both sides. And then he finds it. The file labeled Order 66. Anakin opens it with shaking hands. The document is coldly clinical, outlining the procedure for eliminating all Jedi across the galaxy. The inhibitor chips implanted in every clone trooper, designed to override their free will and turn them into assassins. The trigger phrase that would activate these chips simultaneously, the fallback protocols if the initial order failed. This was his endgame. Anakin's voice is barely audible. He was going to kill us all, every Jedi, every single one. By the time Obi-Wan arrives, Anakin has found dozens of files, each more damning than the last. The invasion of Naboo, orchestrated to create sympathy for Palpatine. The creation of the clone army, funded through shell corporations controlled by Palpatine. The assassination of various senators and Jedi who got too close to the truth. Manipulations of the Trade Federation, the banking clan, the techno-union, all of them puppets, dancing on Palpatine's strings. Obi-Wan enters the office cautiously, his lightsaber ready. "Anakin, where are you?" "In here, Master." "In the Sith shrine." Obi-Wan follows his voice and stops short when he sees the hidden chamber. "By the Force." His eyes take in the artifacts, the holocrons, the evidence of dark side practice. "Anakin, what happened here?" "I came to talk to the Chancellor about my dreams, about Padme." And he revealed himself. He told me he was a Sith Lord, that he orchestrated the entire war. He tried to recruit me, promised he could teach me to save Padme from death. Obi-Wan's expression softens. "And you refused." "I refused. We fought. I killed him. And then I found all of this." He gestures to the room around them, to the files still displayed on the communications console. "Master, he was going to kill all of us. There's an order, Order 66, programmed into every clone trooper. If he'd activated it, the entire GAR would have turned on us simultaneously." Obi-Wan is quiet for a long moment, processing this. Then he moves to the console, reading through the files himself. His face grows paler with each document, each piece of evidence of the conspiracy that nearly destroyed them. When he finally speaks, his voice is hoarse. "How long has this been going on?" "Years, decades maybe, since before Naboo. Certainly, he played us all. Master, the Jedi, the Senate, the Republic, even the Separatists. All of us were just pieces on his Dejaric board. By the time Mace, Windu, Yoda, and the rest of the Council arrive, both Obi-Wan and Anakin have had time to absorb the magnitude of what they've discovered. The Council members move through the chambers in silence, each processing the evidence in their own way. Mace Windu's jaw is set, his hands clenched into fists. He picks up a holocron, examining it with barely contained fury. This is obscene. Right here, in the heart of the Republic, a Sith shrine, and we never sensed it. Yoda leans heavily on his cane, his ears drooping, clouded. The dark side is. But this, more than clouding, this is hiding in plain sight, laughing at our blindness. Kit Fisto moves through the communications logs, his usual smile completely absent. He was in contact with Dooku almost daily. They were coordinating everything. Every attack, every retreat, every strategic decision. He made sure the war dragged on, that neither side could win decisively. Plo Koon examines the files on Order 66, his masked face unreadable. The clones, they were designed to kill us from the beginning. Every victory we achieved with them, every planet we liberated, we were doing it with weapons pointed at our backs the entire time. Shak Ti, who has been overseeing clone training on Kamino, looks stricken. I've been working with them for years, teaching them, training them, caring for them, and all the while they had these chips in their heads, waiting to turn them into our murderers. Luminara's calm voice cuts through the growing despair. But the order wasn't fully executed. The chips activated. We've had reports of that. But they didn't complete their programming. Why? Anakin steps forward. Because I killed Palpatine before he could send the complete command. The inhibitor chips tried to activate on their own, but without his will behind them. Without the dark side power he would have channeled through the Force, they failed. Obi-Wan nods slowly. The clones I've spoken with, they all report the same thing. A moment of confusion, of their hands moving without their consent, and then nothing. The chips short-circuited. Mace Windu looks at Anakin with an expression that's hard to read. You saved us, Skywalker. If you'd arrived even minutes later, if you'd hesitated, if you'd been seduced by his promises, we'd all be dead. The entire order would have been wiped out in a single day. Anakin doesn't respond to the praise. Instead, he looks at Yoda. Master, what do we do now? How do we tell the Republic? How do we tell the galaxy that their beloved Chancellor, the man who led them through the war, was actually a Sith Lord orchestrating both sides? Yoda closes his eyes, and for a moment, he looks every one of his 900 years. Tell them the truth. We must. However painful, however difficult, hidden, the truth cannot stay. Lies, we have had enough of. The Council spends the next several hours cataloging the evidence, making recordings, preparing their case. They know that what they're about to do will shake the Republic to its foundations. Trust in government will be shattered. Faith in the Jedi, who failed to detect the threat, will be tested. The very concept of democracy will be questioned. But there's no other choice. As Mace Windu says, the truth has a way of coming out eventually. Better we control the revelation than let it explode uncontrolled. Senator Bail Organa is the first non-Jedi they bring into their confidence. The senator from Alderaan has been a friend to the Order for years, and they trust him to help navigate the political minefield ahead. He arrives at the Chancellor's office and stops short when he sees the destruction. What in the core worlds happened here? Senator, please sit down. Obi-Wan's voice is gentle but firm. What we're about to tell you will be difficult to believe, but we have evidence to support every word. Over the next hour, they walk him through everything. The Sith Shrine, the communications with Dooku, the orchestration of the war, Order 66, the attempted genocide of the Jedi. By the time they finish, Bail's face is ashen. Great force. All this time, everything we've been fighting for, it was all part of his plan? Everything. Anakin's voice is bitter. Every clone death, every Jedi fallen, every civilian caught in the crossfire, all of it was deliberate. All of it was designed to accumulate power in his hands and destroy the Jedi. Bail stands, pacing the ruined office. The Senate will tear itself apart over this. There will be those who refuse to believe it, who call it a Jedi coup. There will be panic, chaos. Some systems might try to secede. The Republic could collapse entirely. Then we'll have to make sure it doesn't. Mace Windu's voice is steady. We'll present the evidence publicly. Let the galaxy see what we've found. Let them judge for themselves. But we need your help, Senator. We need allies in the Senate who can help maintain order, who can guide the Republic through this crisis. Bail nods slowly. Mon Mothma. She'll help. And there are others, senators, who've been suspicious of Palpatine's growing power. We've been trying to pass legislation to limit the Chancellor's emergency powers, but he always blocked it. Now we know why. We'll need to move quickly. Shakti adds, every moment we delay gives Palpatine's allies time to destroy evidence, to flee, to consolidate their own power. There may be other Sith, other dark side users in positions of authority. Yoda thumps his cane. A purge we cannot have. turn into him, we must not. Justice, yes. Revenge, no. Everyone in the room nods, understanding the danger. It would be so easy, in the wake of this revelation, to become what they fought against, to round up everyone associated with Palpatine and punish them without trial, to use the power they have to impose their will on the galaxy for its own good. That's exactly what Palpatine would have done, which is why we won't do it. Anakin's voice is quiet, but firm. We show the evidence. We let the courts decide guilt. We trust the Republic to handle this the right way. And if they don't, Kit Fisto asks, then we help them find the right way. But we don't force it. We guide, we advise, but we don't rule. Obi-Wan looks around the room. We're Jedi, not dictators. The revelation is made 3 days later. The Senate is called into emergency session. Every senator from every system in the Republic crammed into the massive chamber. Jedi Masters stand at strategic points, not as a show of force, but as witnesses. The evidence is presented methodically. First, the recordings from Palpatine's office showing him discussing strategy with Count Dooku. The Senate watches in stunned silence as their chancellor, the man they elected to protect them, casually discusses how many clone troopers to sacrifice in the next offensive to make the war seem legitimate. Then comes the documentation of Order 66, the inhibitor chips, the planned genocide, recordings of Palpatine himself explaining the order to Dooku, laughing about how the Jedi would never see it coming. Several senators have to be escorted from the chamber, physically ill. Then, the financial records, shell corporations, bribes, assassinations, years of carefully documented corruption, all leading back to one man. By the time the presentation is done, the Senate chamber is in chaos. Some senators are weeping. Others are shouting denials, calling it a Jedi fabrication. Still others are demanding immediate action, calling for investigations, for arrests, for a complete restructuring of the government. Senator Bail Organa takes the podium, his voice amplified to cut through the noise. My fellow senators, please, I understand your shock, your disbelief, your anger. I felt all of those things when the Jedi first showed me this evidence. But we must not let our emotions cloud our judgment. We must not allow this tragedy to destroy the Republic. That's exactly what Palpatine would have wanted. Senator Orn Free Tar from Ryloth speaks up, his jowls quivering. How do we know the Jedi aren't lying? How do we know they didn't kill the Chancellor and fabricate all of this to seize power themselves? Because if we wanted power, we already have it. Mace. Windu's voice echoes through the chamber. Every major military force in the Republic is led by a Jedi. The clone army answers to us. If we wanted to stage a coup, if we wanted to make ourselves rulers of the galaxy, this would be the perfect opportunity. Instead, we're standing here, presenting evidence, asking you to judge it fairly. The Jedi have served the Republic for 1,000 years. We've never sought to rule it. We're not going to start now. Mon Mothma steps forward. I propose we form an independent commission to investigate these allegations thoroughly. Senators from every system, legal experts, forensic specialists, even representatives from the separatist worlds. Let them examine all the evidence, question all the witnesses, and present their findings to the full Senate. Only then do we decide on a course of action. The proposal is debated for hours, but eventually it passes. The investigation will be thorough, transparent, and public. Every piece of evidence will be available for scrutiny. Meanwhile, news of Palpatine's true nature spreads across the galaxy at the speed of light. HoloNet broadcasts carry the story to every system. Reactions are varied and intense. On Coruscant itself, riots break out. Some people refuse to believe their beloved Chancellor could be evil. They attack Jedi they see on the streets, accusing them of murder and treason. Others celebrate, having always suspected something was wrong. The city is locked down. Curfews are imposed. And for a few terrible days, it seems like the capital might tear itself apart. On Naboo, Palpatine's homeworld, the reaction is one of profound shame and horror. Queen Apailana addresses her people from the steps of the royal palace. Sheev Palpatine was one of us. We elected him to the Senate, supported his rise to power, celebrated his achievements, and all the while, he was a monster wearing a mask. This is our burden to bear, our shame to acknowledge. We cannot hide from what one of our own became. Instead, we must learn from it. We must ask ourselves how we allowed this to happen, how we failed to see the signs, and we must commit ourselves to ensuring it never happens again. On Alderaan, Bail Organa works around the clock to keep the Republic from fracturing. He builds coalitions, mediates disputes, convinces frightened senators that the answer is more democracy, not less. His wife, Breha, stands by his side, using her own influence as Queen of Alderaan to reach out to other planetary leaders. On Mandalore, Duchess Satine sees the chaos in the Republic and makes a difficult decision. The neutral systems, those who refuse to take sides in the war, will remain neutral in this crisis as well. We will not exploit the Republic's weakness, but neither will we rush to its aid. We will watch, we will wait, and we will judge the Republic by how it handles this test. On Ryloth, Cham Syndulla and his freedom fighters pause their resistance against the separatist occupation. If Dooku was working with Palpatine, if the whole war was a lie, then what are we even fighting for? On Mon Cala, the aquatic people debate whether to remain in the Republic or strike out on their own. Similar discussions happen on hundreds of worlds, each trying to decide if the Republic is worth saving. And in the separatist-controlled regions of the galaxy, confusion reigns. The Separatist Council, the leaders of the various corporations and factions that make up the CIS, gather on Utapau in an emergency session. Newt Gunray paces nervously. If Darth Sidious and Chancellor Palpatine were the same person, if he was controlling both sides, then what does that make us? Wat Tambor's vocabulator crackles. Pawns. We are pawns who thought we were players. Sandhill nods slowly. The banking clan has lost trillions in this war. Entire fleets destroyed, planets devastated, markets collapsed. And it was all for his amusement? His consolidation of power? Poggle the Lesser clicks his mandibles. The question is, what do we do now? Do we continue the war? Do we surrender? Do we try to negotiate a peace? Ponudo speaks up. We need information. We need to know if Dooku was aware of the deception. If he knew Sidious was Palpatine. Because if he did, and he didn't tell us, then we've been betrayed twice over. But Dooku is nowhere to be found. The Sith apprentice has vanished. His location unknown. Some reports place him on Sereno. Others claim he fled to the unknown regions. A few suggest he's dead, that Sidious eliminated him to tie up loose ends. The truth is that Dooku is in hiding, processing his own betrayal. He learned, too late, that Sidious was planning to replace him with Anakin, that all of his work, all of his sacrifices, were merely stepping stones to his own execution. He sits in a hidden base on Raxus, staring at a hologram of Qui-Gon Jinn, his old apprentice, the one who remained with the Jedi, who stayed true to the light. I was a fool, old friend. I thought I could use the dark side, control it, wield it for good purposes. Instead, it used me. I became exactly what I fought against. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the Jedi are dealing with their own crisis of faith. In the temple on Coruscant, debates rage. Some Jedi argue that they should have sensed Sidious, that their failure represents a fundamental flaw in the Order. We've become too complacent, says Master Oppo Rancisis, too certain of our superiority. The Sith were supposed to be extinct, and we believed it without question. We stopped looking for the darkness because we assumed it was gone. Others, like Ki Adi Mundi, argue that the failure was institutional. We've been too closely tied to the Republic, too involved in politics. We became generals and diplomats instead of peacekeepers and guardians. The Force became secondary to our duties to the Senate. Still others, mostly younger Jedi, argue that the problem is the code itself. We're taught to suppress emotion, to avoid attachment, to remain detached from the very people we're supposed to protect. How can we guard against evil when we don't let ourselves feel? Don't let ourselves connect. Don't let ourselves be fully alive. These debates continue for days. With no clear resolution, the Council tries to maintain order, but even they are divided. Mace Windu represents the traditionalists, those who believe the solution is to return to the old ways, to be more vigilant, more disciplined, more committed to the code. Yoda, surprisingly, begins to question this approach. 900 years, I have followed the code, taught it to thousands of Jedi, believed I did, that the old ways were the best ways. But wrong. I was blind. I was changed. The Order must, or die. It will. This statement sends shockwaves through the Council. If even Yoda, the Grand Master, is questioning the foundations of the Order, then everything is up for debate. Obi-Wan finds himself in an unusual position. He's always been a traditionalist, a by-the-book Jedi who followed the code to the letter. But watching Anakin, seeing how his attachments, his emotions, his refusal to conform actually saved them all, he's forced to reconsider. Perhaps Qui-Gon was right all along. Perhaps the living force requires us to be more flexible, more adaptable, more human. Shakti speaks up in one council session. We need to address the inhibitor chips immediately. Every clone trooper in the GAR has one in their brain. Even though Order 66 failed, those chips are still there, still capable of being activated by someone else. We need to remove them. But how? Kit Fisto asks. There are millions of clones. We don't have the medical facilities or the personnel to perform that many surgeries. And what do we tell them? That they've been walking around with kill switches in their heads this whole time? We tell them the truth. Anakin's voice cuts through the debate. He's attended this council session at Yoda's invitation. Still not officially a council member, but too important to exclude. We tell them exactly what was done to them. We offer to remove the chips, and we let them decide what they want to do with that information. But some of them might choose to keep the chips, Master Windu argues. Some might decide that they want that kind of control, that certainty of purpose. Then, that's their choice. Anakin's voice is firm. They're not droids, they're people. And people get to make their own choices, even if we don't agree with them. The council eventually agrees. Orders are sent out across the GAR. Every clone is to be informed about the inhibitor chips and offered the surgery to remove them. Most accept. The idea of having a device in their brain that can control their actions is horrifying to them. They line up by the thousands at medical facilities, waiting patiently for their turn. The surgery is relatively simple, a quick procedure that removes the chip without causing brain damage. But for many clones, the psychological damage is already done. On Coruscant, Captain Rex stands in a medical bay, holding the chip that was just removed from his brain. It's a small thing, barely larger than a fingernail, but it represented total control over his life. He thinks about all the battles he fought, all the Jedi he served alongside, all the times he could have been turned into a weapon against them. General Skywalker saved us, he says to Fives and Echo, who are with him. If he'd been even a minute later, we'd have all been murderers. Fives nods, his own chip sitting in a medical tray beside him. Do you think the Jedi knew? Do you think they knew about the chips and just didn't care? No. Rex's voice is certain. If they'd known, they would have removed them. We've seen how much they care about us. They risk their lives for us in every battle. They treat us like people, not like equipment. Echo speaks up, his voice quiet. He's still adjusting to his rescue from the Separatists, still dealing with the trauma of his imprisonment. But what happens now? We were created for the war. If the war ends, if the Republic falls apart, what purpose do we have? You have whatever purpose you choose. Comes a new voice. Anakin stands in the doorway of the medical bay. You're not slaves anymore. You're not property. You're free beings who can decide your own fate. Some of you might choose to continue serving as soldiers. Others might want to be farmers, or mechanics, or pilots, or anything else. The choice is yours. On Kamino, the reaction to the inhibitor chip revelation is more complicated. The Kaminoans, who created the clones, are defensive. We were simply following orders, says Lamassu, the Prime Minister. The inhibitor chips were part of the original specifications provided by Jedi Master Sifo Dyas. Who was manipulated by Sidious? Shakti responds coldly. She's traveled to Kamino specifically to confront the Kaminoans. You created sentient beings with built-in kill switches. You treated them as products instead of people. That ends now. The Kaminoans argue, but they have little leverage. The Republic, even in its weakened state, is still their primary client. Without the GAR contract, Kamino's economy collapses. They agree to cease all inhibitor chip installation in new clones. In fact, Shakti goes further. No new clones will be created for military purposes. If the Republic needs soldiers, They'll recruit volunteers like every other civilized government. But Prime Minister Lama Su protests. We've already begun growing the next batch. Tens of thousands of clones already in development. Then you'll raise them as children, not as soldiers. They'll be educated, socialized, given the chance to choose their own paths. The Kaminoans will provide for them until they reach adulthood, and then they'll be free to do whatever they wish. This is outrageous. Our entire economy is based on clone production. Then I suggest you diversify. The conversation sets a precedent that reverberates throughout the Republic. Slavery in all its forms is being confronted. The clone troopers were essentially slaves, created to fight and die without choice. But there are other forms of slavery too. On Tatooine, the Hutt cartel has maintained a slave trade for centuries. The Republic, focused on the core worlds and mid-rim, largely ignored it. But now, with the war's true purpose revealed, Jedi are asking uncomfortable questions about what they've been ignoring. Anakin makes it his personal mission. He requests permission to lead a strike force to Tatooine to finally free the slaves he left behind. The Council, dealing with 1,000 other crises, almost dismisses the request. But then Obi-Wan speaks up. Master Windu, we've spent years fighting a war that meant nothing. Millions have died for a lie. If we're going to rebuild the Order, if we're going to prove we deserve the galaxy's trust, we need to actually help people, real people, with real problems. Not abstract political conflicts, but actual injustice we can fix. Mace considers this. You're right. Approved. Take whoever you need. Anakin assembles a team. Captain Rex and his 501st Legion volunteer immediately. Ahsoka Tano, who has been watching events unfold from a distance, decides to return. When she walks into the temple, heads turn. She was tried and exonerated of treason, but she still left the Order, still walked away. Some Jedi see her as a traitor. Others see her as someone who had the courage to question things they should have been questioning. Anakin embraces her without hesitation. It's good to see you, Snips. You too, Sky Guy. Heard you killed a Sith Lord. Just a day's work. She laughs, and some of the tension in the temple eases. If Anakin and Ahsoka can reconcile, maybe there's hope for the rest of them. The mission to Tatooine is personal for Anakin. He returns to Mos Espa first, to the slave quarters where he grew up. Many of the slaves he knew as a child are still there, still serving, still suffering. They recognize him immediately. Ani? Little Ani Skywalker? You came back? I came back. And I'm going to free all of you. Over the next several weeks, Anakin and his team systematically dismantle the slave trade on Tatooine. It's not easy. The Hutts don't give up their property without a fight. Jabba the Hutt sends bounty hunters, assassins, entire gangs to stop them. But Anakin is relentless. He fights with a fury he's never shown before, channeling all his anger, all his rage at the injustice of slavery into destroying those who profit from it. On one particularly brutal night, he storms Jabba's palace alone. His lightsaber cuts through Gamorrean guards, through protocol droids, through anyone who stands between him and the Hutt crime lord. When he finally reaches Jabba's throne room, the massive slug is surprisingly calm. So the little slave boy returns as a Jedi. How amusing. I'm not here to amuse you. I'm here to end you. You have cost me greatly, Skywalker. My business on this planet is ruined. My reputation is in tatters. And you think you can simply walk away? I don't plan to walk away. Anakin's lightsaber ignites. I plan to end slavery on this planet forever. And that means ending you. Jabba laughs, a disgusting wet sound. You think killing me will change anything? Another Hutt will take my place. The strong always rule the weak. That's the way of the galaxy. Not anymore. Anakin raises his blade, and in that moment, he faces a choice. Jabba is defenseless, pathetic, already defeated. Killing him would be easy, satisfying even. It would be revenge for every slave who suffered under his rule, for every life destroyed by his greed. But it would also be murder. It would be giving in to his anger, letting his hatred control him. It would be one step closer to the dark side. Anakin lowers his blade. You're not worth it. You'll stand trial for your crimes. You'll face justice under Republic law. And if they decide you deserve death, then you'll die. But it won't be by my hand. It won't be in anger. Jabba's expression shifts from mockery to something like respect. Perhaps there is hope for you yet, Skywalker. Perhaps. The liberation of Tatooine becomes a symbol for the new republic that's slowly forming from the ashes of the old. Justice over revenge. Law over mob rule. Freedom over slavery. It's a slow process, and there are setbacks. But progress is being made. Back on Coruscant, the investigation into Palpatine's conspiracy is revealing more horrors. Senator Orn Free Taa, who initially questioned the evidence, is found to have been on Palpatine's payroll for years. Several other senators are implicated as well, their careers destroyed by their association with the Sith Lord. But the Commission is careful to distinguish between those who were complicit and those who were simply deceived. Many who worked with Palpatine genuinely believed they were serving the Republic. They're not punished for being fooled, only for actively participating in crimes. This nuanced approach helps prevent the witch hunts that some feared. Mon Mothma emerges as a leading voice for reform. She proposes a new constitution for the Republic, one with stronger checks on executive power, more autonomy for planetary governments, and explicit protections against the kind of tyranny Palpatine represented. The debates over this constitution are fierce. Some want to maintain strong central authority, arguing that a weak republic invited the separatist movement in the first place. Others want almost no central government at all, believing that local systems should be nearly independent. The compromise that eventually emerges is complex. The Republic will remain, but its power will be more limited. Planetary governments will have more sovereignty. And most importantly, the Jedi will be formally separated from Republic military command. Never again, Mon Mothma says in her address to the Senate, will we allow warrior monks to lead our armies. Never again will we blur the line between spiritual guardians and military commanders. The Jedi will advise, will assist, will protect, but they will not command. Surprisingly, the Jedi Council agrees with this completely. We should never have accepted the role of generals, Mace Windu admits publicly. We allowed ourselves to be drawn into a conflict that compromised our principles and blinded us to the true threat. While the Republic rebuilds, the separatist territories face their own reckoning. With Dooku missing and Sidious dead, the Seers begins to fracture. Some systems want to rejoin the Republic immediately. Others want to remain independent, but seek peace. Still others, feeling betrayed by both sides, want nothing to do with either. On Raxus, the separatist capital, a provisional government forms. They reach out to Coruscant with a surprising offer. Negotiations. Not surrender, but actual peace talks. Equal parties discussing terms. Bail Organa volunteers to lead the Republic delegation. He travels to Raxus with a small team, including Obi-Wan Kenobi as an observer. The Jedi Master's presence is controversial. Some separatists see him as a symbol of Republic aggression, but Obi-Wan's reputation for fairness precedes him. The negotiations are tense. There are years of grievances to address, atrocities committed by both sides, deep wounds that won't heal quickly, but slowly, painfully, progress is made. The Separatists agree to dismantle their droid armies. The Republic agrees to address the trade and taxation issues that sparked the conflict in the first place. Corporate influence in government will be restricted. Worlds will have more say in their own economic policies. It's not perfect, but it's a start. During a break in negotiations, Obi-Wan walks the streets of Raxus. He's recognized immediately, and he tenses, expecting hostility. Instead, a Twi'lek woman approaches him. "You're Master Kenobi, aren't you?" "I am." "My son died fighting your clone troopers on Christophsis." Obi-Wan bows his head. "I'm sorry for your loss." She studies him for a moment. "Are you? Or is that just what you're supposed to say?" "I am truly sorry. Your son died in a war that never should have happened, manipulated by evil men who cared nothing for his life or his cause. If I could undo it, I would." She nods slowly. "I believe you. That's why I'm here. I want you to know that not all of us hate the Jedi. We hate what was done to us, the lies we were told, but we don't hate you." She walks away, leaving Obi-Wan standing in the street. The encounter reminds him that behind all the politics, all the grand strategy, there are real people who suffered real loss. On both sides. Back on Coruscant, Anakin faces his own reckoning. The revelation about Padmé's pregnancy can't stay hidden forever, and he's tired of lying. He requests a private meeting with the full council. When he enters the chamber, all eyes are on him. "Masters, I have something to confess. I've violated the code. I'm married to Senator Amidala, and she's pregnant with my children." The silence that follows is deafening. Mace Windu's expression is unreadable. "You're admitting to an attachment, Skywalker, a direct violation of the Jedi Code." "Yes, and I'm not apologizing for it. My love for Padmé is what kept me from falling to the dark side. When Palpatine offered me power, promised me I could save her, it was my attachment to her that helped me see through his lies. Because real love isn't about control or possession. It's about respect and trust." The council members look at each other. This moment has been inevitable since Anakin joined the Order as a child. He's never fit the mold of a traditional Jedi, never fully embraced the code's restrictions. And now, having saved them all, he's challenging the very foundation of their beliefs. Yoda speaks first, his voice thoughtful. "Attachments lead to fear of loss," the code says. "Fear leads to the dark side. But wrong, perhaps, our understanding was. Attachment and love, not the same thing. They are. Possession and love not the same thing, they are. This gets everyone's attention. Yoda, the most traditional Jedi alive, is questioning the code. Master Yoda, Ki Adi Mundi, speaks carefully. Are you suggesting we change our teachings? Suggesting I am that failed? Our teachings have. Look at the evidence. We must. Anakin's attachment did not lead him to darkness, pushed him away from it. It did. And we, with all our detachment, with all our discipline, we did not see the Sith Lord standing before us. Obi-Wan stands. I've thought about this a great deal. The code says there is no emotion, there is peace. But Anakin has taught me that peace without emotion is just emptiness. The code says there is no passion, there is serenity. But I've seen Anakin's passion drive him to save lives, to fight harder, to care more deeply than any of us. Shakti joins in. The code says there is no chaos, there is harmony. But harmony doesn't mean uniformity. It means different voices working together. And right now, this council is anything but harmonious. Plo Koon adds his voice. The code says, there is no death. There is the Force. We say that, but do we believe it? We cling to our traditions, like they're the only thing keeping us alive. But Sidious proved that our traditions failed us. Luminara Unduli, always calm and measured, speaks last. Perhaps the problem isn't the code itself, but how we've interpreted it. We've taken guidelines and turned them into absolute rules. We've taken wisdom and turned it into dogma. What if we're meant to understand the code more flexibly? Mace Windu has been silent through all of this, his expression troubled. He's the most traditional member of the council, the one most committed to the old ways. But he's also pragmatic enough to recognize truth when he hears it. He stands, and everyone falls silent. Master Skywalker, you saved the Order. You killed a Sith Lord. You prevented the execution of Order 66. By any measure, you're a hero. But you're also right that you violated the code. He pauses, and Anakin tenses, expecting judgment. Under the old interpretation, we would ask you to choose the Order or your family, your duty or your love. But I'm beginning to think that's a false choice, that we've been forcing Jedi to choose between being good Jedi and being whole people. And in doing so, we've created exactly the kind of isolation and vulnerability that Sidious exploited. He looks around at the other council members. I propose we don't expel Skywalker. Instead, we use this as an opportunity to examine our beliefs, to question what we've taken for granted, and to decide what kind of Jedi Order we want to be going forward. Yoda thumps his cane in approval. Wise words. Master Windu. A choice we have. Cling to the past and fade into irrelevance, or adapt to the present and remain relevant. Choose adaptation. I do. The council debates for hours after Anakin is dismissed. It's not a quick or easy discussion. Some masters, like Oppo Rancisis, argue passionately for maintaining tradition. If we change the code, what separates us from the Sith? What makes us Jedi? Our commitment to the light side, Shakti responds. Our dedication to helping others. Our restraint in using our power. These things don't require us to be emotionless monks who shun all connections. But what about the dangers? Ki Adi Mundi asks, attachment does lead to fear of loss. We've seen Jedi fall to the dark side because they couldn't let go of the people they loved. Then we teach them to love wisely, Obi-Wan says. We teach them that love means letting people make their own choices, supporting them without controlling them. We teach them that loss is part of life, that grief is natural, and that the dark side comes not from feeling these things but from letting them control you. Kit Fisto smiles, his first genuine smile in days. So we're really doing this? We're changing the Jedi Order? We're saving it, Mace Windu corrects. By allowing it to evolve, the decision is made. The Jedi Code will be re-examined. Not abandoned, but reinterpreted. A new understanding will be developed, one that acknowledges emotion, accepts attachment, and recognizes that Jedi are people first, warriors second. News of this decision spreads quickly through the temple. Reactions are mixed. Older Jedi, those who spent decades following the traditional code, are uncomfortable. Some choose to leave the order entirely, unable to accept such radical change. Younger Jedi, especially those who fought in the Clone Wars, are more receptive. They've seen how the old ways failed. They're ready for something new. Ahsoka Tano is sitting in the temple gardens when Anakin finds her. She's meditating, or trying to, her face troubled. "You heard?" she asks, without opening her eyes. "I heard. What do you think?" "I think it's about time." She opens her eyes and looks at him. "When I left the Order, I thought I was giving up on everything I believed in. But maybe I was just ahead of the curve. Maybe I saw the problems before anyone else was ready to admit they existed." "You did." Anakin sits beside her. "The Council was wrong to put you on trial. They were wrong about a lot of things." He hesitates, snips. "I know you left the Order. I know you have every reason not to trust us anymore. But we need voices like yours. We need people who aren't afraid to challenge us, to question us, to keep us honest. Are you asking me to come back? I'm asking you to help us build something better, not the old order with a fresh coat of paint, but something genuinely new, something that learns from our mistakes." Ahsoka is quiet for a long time. Then she smiles. "All right, Sky Guy, but I'm not wearing the robes." "Fair enough." Over the following weeks, the transformation of the Jedi Order begins in earnest. It's not a quick process. Centuries of tradition don't change overnight. But piece by piece, element by element, things start to shift. The first major change is in how Force-sensitive children are identified and trained. Under the old system, Jedi would find Force-sensitive infants and take them to the temple, often severing their connection to their birth families entirely. The new approach is different. Jedi still identify Force-sensitive children, but instead of taking them away, they offer training that allows the children to remain with their families. Local academies are established on dozens of worlds, where Force-sensitive younglings can learn during the day and return home at night. The Jedi Temple on Coruscant remains. But it's no longer the only place to train. Some traditionalists object, arguing that this will lead to poorly trained Jedi, that the discipline of the temple is essential. But the results speak for themselves. The younglings trained in this new way are just as skilled, but they're more grounded, more connected to the people they're meant to protect. They don't see non-Force sensitives as lesser beings to be guarded, but as equals to be served. The second major change is in the Council itself. The number of council members is expanded from 12 to 20, with half the seats reserved for Jedi under the age of 40. This ensures that younger voices, those who experienced the Clone Wars firsthand, have equal say in the Order's direction. Anakin is offered a council seat. He accepts, but on his own terms. I'll serve, but I won't pretend to be something I'm not. I'm going to question things. I'm going to push back. I'm going to be difficult. We're counting on it, Mace Windu says with something that might be a smile. Ahsoka also joins the council, as does Quinlan Vos, a Jedi known for his unconventional methods. The mix of traditional masters and progressive knights creates a dynamic tension, but it's a productive tension. Debates are fierce but respectful. Decisions are made by consensus, not by decree. The third major change is in the Jedi Code itself. After months of debate, meditation, and consultation with Jedi across the galaxy, a new version is proposed. It doesn't replace the old code but reinterprets it. Emotion, yet peace. The acknowledgement that Jedi feel emotions, but they find peace through understanding and controlling those emotions, not suppressing them. Passion, yet serenity. The recognition that passion, properly channeled, drives Jedi to help others, to fight for justice, to care deeply about their mission. Chaos, yet harmony. The acceptance that the galaxy is chaotic and unpredictable, but Jedi can find harmony by adapting to circumstances rather than trying to control everything. Attachment, yet liberation. The understanding that loving others doesn't enslave Jedi but liberates them to be their best selves as long as that love is healthy and balanced. Death, yet the Force. The acknowledgement that death is natural and inevitable, but those who die become one with the Force, continuing in a different form. When this new code is presented to the full Order, assembled in the temple's main hall, there's a long silence. Then, one by one, Jedi begin to nod. Some are crying, others are smiling. A few look troubled, still unsure, but the majority accepts it. This is what we should have been all along, says a Twi'lek knight. Not emotionless monks, but compassionate guardians. Not detached observers, but active participants in life. Yoda, standing at the front of the hall, closes his eyes. Proud, Qui-Gon would be. Saw this future, he did. When alive he was. Mocked him for it. We did. Wrong. We were. The changes extend beyond philosophy to practical matters. Jedi are no longer automatically assigned to military service. Those who want to serve as peacekeepers and negotiators can do so. Those who want to focus on humanitarian work can pursue that instead. Those who want to study the Force in isolation are free to do that too. The Order becomes less monolithic, more diverse in its approaches and methods. On Naboo, a group of Jedi establishes a healing center, focusing on Force-based medicine and trauma counseling. Many clone troopers dealing with the psychological aftermath of nearly executing their Jedi generals receive treatment there. On Mandalore, Jedi and Mandalorians, ancient enemies, begin a tentative partnership. Jedi learn about Mandalorian culture, and Mandalorians learn about the Force. It's awkward at first, filled with misunderstandings and old grudges. But slowly, respect develops. On Coruscant, Anakin and Padme go public with their marriage. The Senate session where she announces it is pact HoloNet cameras broadcasting to the entire galaxy. I stand before you today not just as Senator Amidala of Naboo, but as Padme Skywalker, wife of Jedi Knight Anakin Skywalker. We kept our marriage secret because the Jedi Code forbade attachments. But that code has changed, as has the Order. And I wanted all of you to know that the Jedi are no longer distant, untouchable beings who float above our concerns. They're people like us, who love and fear and hope and dream. The reaction is overwhelmingly positive. The public has always been fascinated by the Jedi, and humanizing them, showing that they have families and relationships, actually increases their support. Of course, not everyone approves. There are protests from religious groups who see the Jedi as sacred and believe they should maintain their traditional separateness. But these are minority voices. Most people appreciate seeing the Jedi as more relatable, more accessible. When Padme gives birth to Luke and Leia, the event is covered by every news outlet in the galaxy. The twins become instant celebrities, the children of a war hero and a beloved senator. Some worry about the attention, about the pressure these children will face. But Anakin and Padme are determined to give them as normal a childhood as possible, given the circumstances. They'll know they're Force-sensitive, Anakin says, holding his newborn son. They'll be trained, but they'll also know they're loved, that they have a family, that they don't have to choose between being Jedi and being people. While the Jedi Order transforms, the Republic continues its own painful rebuilding. The Separatist territories are slowly reintegrated, though the process is complex. Some worlds rejoin the Republic immediately. Others negotiate new terms, demanding more autonomy and protections against future tyranny. A few choose to remain independent, and the Republic, weaker now but wiser, accepts this. On Ryloth, Cham Syndulla's freedom fighters finally drive out the last Separatist holdouts. But instead of celebrating, Cham is troubled. He invites Anakin, who helped in the final battle, to meet with him. You Jedi say you've changed. You say you'll be different now. But how do I know? How does anyone know that you won't fall into the same patterns? Won't become complacent again? You don't know, Anakin admits. And we don't know either. All we can do is try, every day, to be better, to stay connected to people like you, to listen to your concerns, to remain humble. Cham studies him. The Twi'leks have been exploited for generations. The Republic looked the other way while corporations enslaved my people, while crime lords trafficked us. Why should we trust you now? Because we're not asking for blind trust. We're asking for a chance to prove ourselves. And if we fail, if we start to slip back into our old ways, we're asking you to hold us accountable. Cham considers this. All right, Skywalker, but I'll be watching. So will a lot of other people. The Republic you're building, it needs to be better than the one that fell. It needs to actually serve all its citizens, not just the core worlds. Agreed. Similar conversations happen across the galaxy. The new Republic is being built on skepticism, on hard-won lessons, on the understanding that democracy requires constant vigilance. It's messy and difficult, but it's genuine. Meanwhile, dark side threats continue to emerge. Not all of Sidious's followers died with him. On Dromund Kaas, a Sith cultist tries to claim the dead Dark Lord's mantle. He gathers followers, promises a return to Sith rule and begins building a small army. The Jedi respond, but differently than before. Instead of sending a massive military force, they send a small team led by Obi-Wan Kenobi. The team includes not just Jedi, but clone commandos who volunteered to continue serving, as well as local security forces from nearby systems. "We're not conquerors," Obi-Wan tells them as they approach Dromund Kaas. "We're here to neutralize a threat, but we're also here to understand why this threat emerged." People don't join Sith cults for no reason. They're usually desperate, angry, looking for power because they feel powerless. On Dromund Kaas, they find that Obi-Wan's instincts were correct. The cultists are mostly former separatists who feel abandoned by the galaxy. People who lost everything in the war and are looking for something, anything, to give them purpose. The Sith philosophy of power through passion appeals to them. Obi-Wan tries negotiation first. The cult leader, a fallen Jedi named Barriss Offee, is surprised when Obi-Wan arrives unarmed, requesting a meeting. "Barriss, I know you. You were Luminara's apprentice. You were a healer. One of the most compassionate Jedi I knew. What happened?" She laughs bitterly. "What happened? I opened my eyes, Master Kenobi. I saw the Jedi for what they really are. Hypocrites who preach peace while leading armies. Guardians who let evil flourish right under their noses. You were blind, all of you. And when I tried to open your eyes, when I bombed the temple to show you the truth, you cast me out. You were right about some things," Obi-Wan admits. "The Order was corrupt, complacent. We failed in our duties. But bombing the temple, killing innocent people, that wasn't the answer. And following the Sith, embracing the dark side, that's not the answer either. Then, what is? Tell me, Master Kenobi, what's the answer to a galaxy filled with injustice, with suffering, with evil? The answer is what we're trying to build now. A new order that learns from its mistakes. A new republic that serves all its people. It's not perfect, and it won't happen overnight, but it's better than burning everything down." Barriss studies him, and for a moment he sees a flicker of the young healer she used to be. Then her expression hardens. Pretty words, but words won't save this galaxy. Only power will. She attacks, her red lightsaber blazing. Obi-Wan, prepared for this possibility, ignites his own blade and defends. Their duel is intense, but brief. Barriss is powerful, fueled by rage and dark side energy. But Obi-Wan is more skilled, more disciplined, and he's not trying to kill her, he's trying to save her. As they fight, he talks. "Barriss, you're not too far gone. I can feel it. You're not consumed by the dark side. You're just in pain. Let us help you. You can't help me. No one can. The Jedi failed me. The Republic failed me. Everyone I trusted betrayed me. Then let us make it right. Let us show you we've changed, not through words, but through actions." She stumbles, and Obi-Wan disarms her, his blade at her throat. He could kill her. It would be easy, justified even. She's a terrorist, a murderer, a fallen Jedi who embraced the Sith. But he doesn't. Instead, he deactivates his lightsaber and extends his hand. "Come back, Barriss. Not to the Order as it was, but to what it's becoming. Help us make it better." She stares at his hand, tears streaming down her face. After a long moment, she takes it. Her cultists, seeing their leader surrender, lose their will to fight. Most lay down their weapons. A few try to flee and are captured. The situation is resolved without a massacre, without another tragedy to haunt the galaxy. On the journey back to Coruscant, Barriss sits in the ship's hold, bound but treated with respect. Obi-Wan visits her. You'll stand trial for your crimes. The bombing, the murders, all of it. But I'll testify about your surrender, about your willingness to return. The courts will decide your fate, not me. Why? She asks. Why show me mercy? Because that's what Jedi do, or at least what we should do. We've spent too long being warriors, not enough time being healers. Maybe your sentence can include using your healing abilities to help others. Maybe you can make amends through service rather than just punishment. It won't erase what you did, but it might help balance the scales. Barriss doesn't respond, but Obi-Wan can see her, considering his words. It's a start. On Coruscant, the political situation continues to stabilize. The new constitution is ratified. After months of debate, the position of Supreme Chancellor is retained, but with term limits and significantly reduced powers. A system of checks and balances is implemented, with the Senate, the judicial branch, and a new independent oversight committee, all holding each other accountable. Bail Organa is elected as the first chancellor under the new constitution. He accepts reluctantly, knowing the job will be difficult. Mon Mothma becomes his vice-chancellor, and together they form a partnership that embodies the new Republic's values. We're not here to rule, Bail says in his inaugural address. We're here to serve. We're not here to accumulate power, but to distribute it. We're not here to make decisions for you, but to help you make decisions for yourselves. The Republic exists to serve its citizens, not the other way around. It's a radical departure from Palpatine's style, and the public responds positively. Trust in government, which plummeted after the revelation of Palpatine's true nature, begins to slowly recover. But challenges remain. The war devastated countless worlds. Refugees number in the billions. The economy is in shambles. Criminal organizations, sensing weakness, are expanding their operations. The Republic needs to address all of these issues simultaneously, and resources are limited. The Jedi, true to their new philosophy, focus on humanitarian work. Instead of leading armies, they lead relief efforts. Jedi teams are dispatched to war-torn worlds to help with rebuilding, to provide medical care, to mediate disputes. On Christophsis, Anakin and Ahsoka work with the local population to rebuild the crystal mines that were destroyed in the war. They don't just use the Force to move debris. They teach the locals how to do the work themselves, how to rebuild their infrastructure sustainably. On Mon Cala, Kit Fisto mediates between the Mon Calamari and Quarren, species that were driven into conflict by separatist manipulation. It takes months of patient negotiation, but eventually, a power-sharing agreement is reached. On Onderon, Obi-Wan helps the local resistance establish a functional government. He provides advice, but refuses to make decisions for them. This is your world. You need to decide how to govern it. I can offer wisdom from the Jedi and the Republic's experiences, but ultimately, the choice is yours. These efforts don't go unnoticed. Slowly, the Jedi's reputation improves. People see them not as aloof warrior monks, but as compassionate helpers. The Order's numbers begin to grow as Force-sensitive individuals who previously would have hidden their abilities now seek out training. On Tatooine, the abolition of slavery is complete. The former slave markets are torn down, and memorials are erected to those who died in bondage. Anakin attends the dedication ceremony, standing beside the statue of his mother. Padme is with him, holding their infant twins. "She would be proud of you," Padme says softly. "She always knew you'd do great things. I just wish she could have seen it." In a way, she has. Through the Force, through you, through these children, she's part of everything you've accomplished. On Naboo, Queen Apilana establishes the Palpatine Documentation Center, a museum and research facility dedicated to studying how democracy can fail, how tyranny can emerge from within seemingly peaceful systems. It's not a celebration of Palpatine, but a warning against him. School children from across the galaxy visit to learn about the dangers of unchecked power, of blind trust in authority, of the slow erosion of rights in the name of security. One exhibit features a hologram of Palpatine giving a speech, his words dripping with charm and reassurance. Next to it is a display of the orders he gave in secret, the manipulations he orchestrated, the evil he embodied. The contrast is striking and intentional. "This is what tyranny looks like," the placard reads. It doesn't announce itself. It disguises itself as protection, as order, as necessity. It smiles and reassures while it slowly tightens the chains. On Dagobah, Yoda has retreated for extended meditation. He's not abandoning the Order, but at 900 years old, he recognizes that he needs to step back, to let younger Jedi lead. He sits in his simple hut, communing with the Force, reaching out across space and time. One day, he feels a familiar presence. A Force ghost materializes before him. Qui-Gon Jinn. Qui-Gon, my old friend. Yoda, you've learned much since we last spoke. Learned that right, you were. About the living Force, about the need for change, about everything, really. Qui-Gon smiles. It took a Sith Lord nearly destroying the Order for you to see it? Yes. Stubborn I was, set in my ways, but opened my eyes. The darkness did, showed me how far we had fallen. The Order you're building now, it's what I always hoped for. Jedi who are part of the galaxy, not separate from it, who embrace life rather than fear it. But the path ahead won't be easy. There are still challenges to face, still darkness to confront. Know that? I do. But ready, we are. Stronger for our failures, we are. Humbler, wiser. As it should be. Qui-Gon's image begins to fade. Train young Skywalker's children well. They will be important to the galaxy's future. Train them, I will. But parents, they have. Part of their training, that will be good. That's very good. On Coruscant, Luke and Leia grow from infants to toddlers. They're raised in a mix of environments. The Jedi Temple, the Senate building, Padme's apartments. They have Jedi tutors and civilian tutors. They play with other children, both Force-sensitive and not. They're not hidden away or treated as special. just as children with unique abilities that need proper guidance. Anakin watches them play one day in the temple gardens. Luke is trying to use the Force to stack blocks, concentrating fiercely. Leia has already given up on telekinesis and is just building her tower by hand, accomplishing more through direct action than her brother's contemplation. They're so different, Padme observes, standing beside him. Both strong, both bright, but completely different approaches, just like their parents. You think Luke is like me, and Leia is like you? I think Luke is thoughtful and patient, like Obi-Wan. And Leia is determined and direct, like me. She pauses, smiling. You're both thoughtful when you need to be, direct when the situation calls for it. That's why you'll be a great teacher for them. I hope so. I never had a normal childhood. I'm not sure I know how to give them one. Then we figure it out together. That's what family does. On Mandalore, the partnership between Jedi and Mandalorians deepens. Duchess Satine, seeing the Jedi's transformation, proposes a formal alliance. Not a military pact, but a cultural exchange and mutual defense agreement. The Mandalorian people have always valued strength and honor. What we're learning is that true strength includes compassion, and true honor includes admitting when you're wrong. The Jedi have shown us this. Bo-Katan cries, Satine's sister, and a former member of Death Watch, has her own perspective. I spent years fighting the Jedi, seeing them as enemies of our way of life. But watching them change, watching them adapt while staying true to their core values, that's the most Mandalorian thing I've ever seen. Ahsoka, who has been working closely with the Mandalorians, smiles at this. Maybe we're not so different after all. You fight for what you believe in. So do we. You value loyalty and courage. So do we. The difference is in the details, not the principles. The alliance is formalized with a ceremony on Mandalore. Jedi and Mandalorians stand side by side, their ancient enmity finally set aside. It's symbolic, but symbols matter. In the unknown regions, Thrawn watches all of this with calculating eyes. The Emperor's death was unexpected, but not unwelcome. Palpatine was a useful ally, but his ultimate goal of galactic domination would have brought him into conflict with the Chiss ascendancy eventually. Better to let the Republic and the remnants of the Empire destroy each other while the Chiss build their strength. But what Thrawn observes in the New Republic intrigues him. They're not following the expected patterns. They're not engaging in massive military buildups or purges of their enemies. They're trying something different, something he hasn't seen in any of the societies he's studied. They're trying to build power through legitimacy rather than force. It's interesting, potentially effective, if they can maintain it, but also fragile. A single crisis, a single charismatic demagogue could undo everything. He files this information away. The New Republic isn't a threat yet, but it could become one. Or it could become an ally. Time will tell. On Exegol, the Sith fleet discovered by Ahsoka's team is systematically destroyed. It takes months, but every ship is either scuttled or repurposed for civilian use. The planet itself, once a nexus of dark side power, is cleansed by a team of Jedi led by Yoda. They don't destroy the dark side presence. That's impossible. But they balance it, adding light to counter the darkness, creating equilibrium. This will not hold forever, Yoda warns. Eternal vigilance, the price of peace, is. But for now, neutralized the threat is. On Korriban, Obi-Wan leads an expedition into the ancient Sith tombs. They discover texts, artifacts, knowledge that has been lost for millennia. Some of it is dangerous, certainly dark side techniques and philosophies that could corrupt anyone who studies them. But Obi-Wan makes a controversial decision. We don't destroy this. We preserve it, study it, learn from it. The Sith were evil, but they understood aspects of the Force that we've ignored. If we're going to truly bring balance, we need to understand both sides. Master Kenobi, Mace Windu, objects when the artifacts arrive at the temple. This is dangerous. Exposing Jedi to Sith teachings could lead to falls to the dark side. Then we teach them properly. We show them the dangers, explain the corruption, but we don't hide from it. Ignorance isn't protection, it's vulnerability. The artifacts are placed in a special section of the Jedi archives, accessible only to masters and senior knights who have proven their resistance to the dark side. Scholars study them, not to use the techniques, but to understand the philosophy, the psychology, the methods of corruption. This knowledge makes the Jedi stronger. They're no longer fighting an unknown enemy. They're confronting darkness with full awareness of what it is and how it operates. On Dathomir, Mother Talzin observes the changes sweeping the galaxy with interest. The Night Sisters have their own connection to the Force, one that doesn't fit neatly into Jedi or Sith categories. She reaches out to the Jedi Council with an unprecedented offer. We have knowledge of the Force that predates your order, that exists outside your light and dark dichotomy. We're willing to share this knowledge, to teach your Jedi about Force magic, about the ways of the Night Sisters. In exchange, we ask only for recognition and protection. No more will we be hunted as dark side users simply because our methods are different. The Council debates this. Some, like Mace Windu, are skeptical. The Night Sisters have dark histories, associations with Sith and other evil forces. But others, like Quinlan Vos, argue for acceptance. If we're really trying to understand the Force in all its aspects, if we're really moving beyond the old dogmas, then we need to be open to different perspectives. The Night Sisters aren't Sith. They're something else entirely. An exchange program is established. Night Sisters come to the Jedi Temple to teach. Jedi go to Dathomir to learn. It's awkward at first, with cultural misunderstandings and clashes of philosophy. But gradually, mutual respect develops. Anakin is one of the Jedi who studies with the Night Sisters. He learns their techniques of Force enhancement, their methods of channeling emotion into power without being consumed by it. It's dangerous walking the line between light and dark, but Talzin is an excellent teacher. You have already touched the dark side, Skywalker. I can sense it in you. The anger, the fear, the passion. Most Jedi would try to suppress these things. We teach you to acknowledge them, to use them without being used by them. Isn't that the path to the dark side? Only if you let it be. The dark side is about domination, about forcing your will on others, on the Force itself. What we teach is about balance, about accepting all aspects of yourself, without letting any one aspect control you. Anakin emerges from his training on Dathomir changed, not corrupted, but wiser. He understands now that the Force isn't a simple binary of light and dark. It's a spectrum, a continuum, and different Force users can exist at different points along that continuum without necessarily being evil. This understanding becomes part of his teaching when he eventually takes on a Padawan. Years pass. The Republic continues to heal and grow. The Jedi Order evolves into something truly new. Neither the rigid institution of the Old Republic nor the mystical warriors of ancient legends, but something in between. Protectors and counselors, teachers and healers, warriors when necessary, but peacemakers by choice. On Coruscant, 10 years after Palpatine's death, a ceremony is held to commemorate the fallen, not just Jedi, but clones, senators, civilians, everyone who died in the Clone Wars. The names are read aloud, a process that takes 3 full days. Anakin stands with other council members, listening to each name. So many dead, so much loss. And for what? For one man's ambition, for one Sith Lord's desire for power. But from that tragedy, something better has emerged. Obi-Wan says beside him, a republic that's more just, a Jedi Order that's more connected to the people. It doesn't erase the loss, but it gives it meaning. Do you think it'll last? Do you think we've really changed? Or are we just repeating the same cycles with a fresh coat of paint? I don't know, Obi-Wan admits, but I know we're trying. And as long as we keep questioning ourselves, keep challenging our assumptions, keep learning from our mistakes, we have a chance. Luke and Leia, now 10 years old, attend the ceremony. They're old enough to understand what happened, young enough to believe it can be prevented from happening again. They've begun their formal Jedi training, learning from multiple masters rather than being apprenticed to just one. Luke studies with Obi-Wan, learning patience and defensive techniques. Leia trains with Ahsoka, learning aggression and quick thinking. Both study with Anakin, who teaches them balance, showing them how to acknowledge emotion without being ruled by it. On their 10th birthday, they're given their first lightsabers. Not the traditional ceremony in the temple, but a family affair. Anakin hands each of them a hilt. These crystals chose you. Luke, yours is blue, like mine was. Leia, yours is green, like Master Yoda's. The colors don't define you, but they're a part of you. Use them wisely. Use them to protect, never to attack. And remember, a lightsaber is a tool. It's what you do with it that matters. They ignite the blades, and the hum fills the room. Luke's face is serious, thoughtful, already feeling the responsibility. Leia grins, excited, ready to use this new tool to make the galaxy better. On Naboo, a new generation comes of age. Children born after the war, who never knew Palpatine's reign, who grow up in a galaxy that's scarred, but healing. They're taught about what happened, about how democracy can fail, about how evil can disguise itself as good. But they're also taught about hope, about how people can change, about how even the darkest times can give way to light. On Mandalore, the Mandalorian Academy graduates its first class of students trained in both Mandalorian combat techniques and Jedi philosophy. They're not Jedi themselves. Most aren't Force sensitive, but they understand the principles. They become a new kind of warrior, one that fights only when necessary, that values life even as they're prepared to take it. On Ryloth, Cham Syndulla's daughter Hera is beginning her pilot training. She dreams of exploring the galaxy, of seeing all the worlds her father fought to protect. On Lothal, young Ezra Bridger is showing signs of Force sensitivity. His parents, former activists, reach out to the local Jedi Academy. They're nervous, but hopeful. On Alderaan, Bail and Breha's adopted daughter Winter displays remarkable intelligence and memory. She's being prepared for a life of public service, following in her parents' footsteps. These children, born from the ashes of war, represent the future. A future that's uncertain but promising. On Dagobah, Yoda feels his time approaching. He's ancient, even by his species' standards. And the Force calls to him, inviting him to let go, to become one with the cosmic energy that binds all living things. But before he goes, he has one last lesson to teach. He summons Anakin to Dagobah. The young Jedi, now in his 30s, lands his ship in the swamp and makes his way to Yoda's hut. Master Yoda, I came as quickly as I could. Is everything all right? Dying. I am. Not today, perhaps not tomorrow, but soon. And before I go, speak with you. I must. Anakin sits, his expression somber. What do you want to tell me? The chosen one, you are. Believed that for years we have, but wrong. Our understanding was. Bring balance to the Force, you did. Not by destroying the Sith, though important that was, but by forcing the Jedi to change, to evolve, to become what we should have been all along. I didn't do it alone. So many others helped. True. But the catalyst, you were. Your arrival challenged us. Your passion showed us the limits of our detachment. Your love demonstrated the strength we denied. Your choices saved us from our own rigidity. So, thank you, young Skywalker. Saved the Jedi. You did. Not through destruction, but through transformation. Anakin bows his head. I'm honored, Master. But I'm also scared. What if I fail? What if I can't maintain what we've built? Then someone else will. The Force is larger than any one person, even the chosen one. What matters is that you tried, that you cared, that you remained true to yourself while serving something greater. Yoda reaches out a small hand, placing it on Anakin's. Proud of you. I am. Proud of all of you. The Order, stronger it is than ever before. The Republic, more just it is. The galaxy, safer it is. My work is done. Tears stream down Anakin's face. I'll miss you, Master. Miss me not. Always with you, I will be. In the Force, in your memories, in the lessons learned. Death is not the end, merely a transformation. Days later, Yoda passes peacefully in his sleep. His body fades, becoming one with the Force, leaving only his robes and his Gaimer stick behind. Jedi across the galaxy feel his passing, a moment of profound loss, but also profound peace. On Coruscant, the temple holds a memorial service. Thousands attend, Jedi and civilians alike, all paying respects to the ancient master who guided the Order through its darkest hour and its greatest transformation. Anakin gives the eulogy. Master Yoda lived for 900 years. He trained thousands of Jedi, fought countless battles, and witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations. But what I'll remember most about him isn't his power or his wisdom, though he had both in abundance. What I'll remember is his willingness to change. At 900 years old, when most beings would be set in their ways, unable to imagine any other path, Master Yoda questioned everything he believed. He admitted he was wrong. He embraced new ideas, and in doing so, he saved us all. That's his legacy. Not the battles he won or the students he trained, but the example he set, that it's never too late to change, never too late to grow, never too late to become better than you were. The memorial service becomes a turning point. With Yoda gone, the last link to the old order is severed. What remains is entirely new, built on the foundations of the past but not bound by them. The Jedi Order enters a new era. On Kamino, the last clone trooper rolls off the production line. It's a symbolic moment, marking the end of the clone army. The trooper, designated CT-99999999, nicknamed Omega, is the last of his kind. But unlike those who came before, he won't be a soldier unless he chooses to be. He'll be raised as a child, educated, given opportunities to explore different paths. When he's old enough, if he wants to serve in the Republic Defense Force, he can, but he'll have a choice. Captain Rex is there for his birth, watching as the young clone emerges from the growth tank. He places a hand on the young trooper's shoulder. "You're the last, kid. The last clone created for war, but you're also the first. The first one who gets to choose his own path." "What's your name, sir?" the young clone asks. "Rex. And you're Omega. Remember that. You're not a number. You're a person." On Sereno, Dooku finally emerges from hiding. The former Sith apprentice is old now, his hair white, his face lined with regret. He turns himself in to Republic authorities, confessing to his crimes and requesting trial. The trial is public and heavily covered. Dooku doesn't deny anything. He admits to orchestrating attacks, to manipulating the separatist movement, to serving Darth Sidious. But he also testifies against the Sith philosophy, warning others about the seduction of the dark side. "The dark side promises power," he says from the witness stand. "It promises that you can control events, shape the galaxy to your will, impose order through force. But it's a lie. The dark side doesn't give you control. It takes it away. You become a slave to your anger, your fear, your hate. I thought I was using the dark side for good purposes, to fight the corruption I saw in the Republic and the Jedi. But in the end, I became more corrupt than anything I fought against." The court debates his fate for weeks. Some want execution. Others argue for life imprisonment. In the end, a compromise is reached. Dooku will be imprisoned, but he'll be allowed to teach, to write, to share his knowledge of the dark side's dangers with future generations. He becomes a cautionary tale, a living reminder of how good intentions can lead to evil actions. On Coruscant, Anakin is now recognized as one of the leading members of the Jedi Council. His insights, his willingness to question, his balance between light and dark make him an invaluable voice, but he's careful not to dominate. He remembers Palpatine's rise to power, how one charismatic leader can corrupt an entire system. So he deliberately steps back, shares power, encourages dissent and debate. When younger Jedi propose ideas he disagrees with, he doesn't shut them down. He engages, asks questions, helps them refine their thinking. Sometimes they convince him, other times he convinces them. But the process is always collaborative, never authoritarian. One day, a young Padawan approaches him nervously. "Master Skywalker, I have a question, but I'm not sure if I should ask." You can always ask questions. That's how we learn. "Well, I heard that you were married, that you have children, and I was wondering, is it allowed for Jedi to have families now?" It's not required, but it's allowed. If you form attachments, if you fall in love, the Order won't condemn you for it. We've learned that love doesn't lead to the dark side. Fear of loss does. Controlling others does. But genuine love, the kind that respects the other person's autonomy, that's actually a strength. The Padawan nods, clearly relieved. "Thank you, Master. I have someone I care about, and I was afraid I'd have to choose between them and being a Jedi." You don't. You can have both. Just remember that being a Jedi means being responsible with your power, putting others' needs ahead of your own wants, serving the greater good. As long as your relationship doesn't compromise those principles, there's no conflict. On Tatooine, a monument stands in Mos Eisley. It's a simple sculpture, a woman and child standing together, looking toward the horizon. The inscription reads, "In memory of all who lived and died in slavery on Tatooine, may we never forget. May we never allow this to happen again." Anakin visits it occasionally, always alone, always at dusk. He stands before his mother's likeness, talking to her as if she can hear. "I did it, Mom. I freed them. I freed everyone on this planet. It took longer than I wanted, and a lot of people died before it happened. But it's done. No more slaves on Tatooine." He pauses, looking at the setting suns. "I have a family now. Twins, Luke and Leia. You would have loved them. Padme is an amazing mother. Everything you were and more. And I'm trying, really trying, to be a good father, to give them the childhood I never had, to let them be children, not property, not weapons, not tools, just children." The wind picks up, blowing sand across the monument. Anakin doesn't move. "I understand now why you never tried to escape, why you stayed, even when you could have run. You couldn't leave me behind, and you couldn't take me with you safely. You chose to stay in slavery so I wouldn't have to. That's love, real love. Sacrificing your own freedom for someone else's safety. The Jedi were wrong. Attachment isn't weakness. It's the strongest thing there is." On Naboo, Padme addresses the Senate for the last time. After serving for 20 years, she's decided to retire from politics to focus on her family and on writing. She's begun a memoir, not just of her life, but of the Republic's transformation. "My fellow senators, I stand before you today to say goodbye, but also to say thank you. Thank you for trusting me, for listening to me, for working with me to build something better than what we had. We've been through darkness together. We've faced tyranny and war, and the near collapse of everything we hold dear. but we survived. More than that, we grew. We learned. We changed. The Senate chamber erupts in applause. Padme waits for it to die down before continuing. The republic we have now isn't perfect. It never will be. Perfection isn't possible when you're governing trillions of beings across millions of worlds. But what we have is better, more just, more representative, more accountable. And as long as we remain vigilant, as long as we keep questioning ourselves, keep listening to dissenting voices, keep remembering how close we came to losing everything, we'll continue to improve. After the speech, Bail Organa approaches her. "We'll miss you, Padme. You've been the conscience of the Senate. I'll miss this too. But it's time to be a mother, a wife, a person, instead of just a senator." Plus, she smiles. Someone needs to keep Anakin from getting too full of himself. He's a hero now, you know, celebrated across the galaxy. That kind of attention can go to someone's head. If anyone can keep him grounded, it's you. On Mandalore, Bo-Katan Kryze is elected as the new Duchess after Satine's retirement. It's a controversial choice. Bo-Katan has a warrior's background, very different from her pacifist sister. But she's also learned from Satine's example, understanding that strength doesn't always mean violence. In her first address as Duchess, she speaks about the Mandalorian way evolving. "We are warriors," she says. "That will never change. It's who we are." But being a warrior doesn't mean constantly seeking battle. It means being ready to defend what matters, to protect those who cannot protect themselves, to stand against injustice. The greatest warrior is the one who wins without fighting. My sister taught me that. The Jedi taught me that. And now I'll teach it to all Mandalorians. The partnership between Mandalore and the Jedi deepens under Bo-Katan's leadership. Joint training exercises become common. Cultural exchanges flourish. And when threats emerge, as they inevitably do, Mandalorians and Jedi stand together. On the edges of the known galaxy, threats continue to emerge. The dark side doesn't disappear just because the Sith are gone. There are always those who seek power, who want to dominate others, who are willing to embrace evil for their own ends. But now, the galaxy is better prepared. The Jedi don't fight alone. They work with local security forces, with Republic defense forces, with allied systems like Mandalore. They share information, coordinate responses, and, most importantly, they remain humble. "We're not saviors," Mace Windu tells a group of young Jedi Knights being sent to deal with a pirate incursion. "We're helpers. The people we're going to assist are the real heroes. They've been dealing with these pirates for months, fighting and surviving with limited resources. Our job is to support them, not to take over. Listen to them, learn from them, and when the job is done, step aside and let them govern themselves." This approach proves effective. Pirates, warlords, and criminals can't exploit local grievances when the locals are empowered to solve their own problems. The Jedi provide training, equipment, and tactical support. But they don't occupy, they don't impose. They help and then leave. On Coruscant, Luke and Leia are approaching their 13th birthday. In Jedi tradition, this would normally be the age where they'd be chosen as Padawans, formally apprenticed to a single master. But in the New Order, the process is different. They've been learning from multiple masters all along. Now they get to choose which master they want to study with, primarily, while still maintaining relationships with others. Luke chooses Obi-Wan. "I want to learn control," he explains. "I want to understand the defensive side of the Force, how to protect rather than attack." Leia chooses Ahsoka. "I want to learn to fight," she says bluntly. "I want to be able to protect people, to stand up to bullies, to make a difference through action." Anakin is proud of both choices. They're following their own paths, not the paths he'd choose for them. That's exactly as it should be. On his own 13th birthday, Luke receives another gift, a hologram from Qui-Gon Jinn. The Force ghost recorded it years ago, knowing it would eventually reach Anakin's son. "Luke Skywalker, I am Qui-Gon Jinn. I died before you were born, but I knew your father when he was young. I saw his potential, his passion, his power. I also saw his struggles, his fears, his anger. I brought him to the Jedi Order, believing he would bring balance to the Force. And he did, though not in the way any of us expected. Now that responsibility passes to you, not to repeat what your father did, but to continue the work he started. The Force is balanced now, but balance is not a static thing. It requires constant attention, constant adjustment, constant care. Your generation will face challenges we can't imagine. New threats, new opportunities, new questions about what it means to be a Jedi. Trust in the Force, trust in yourself, and trust that you don't have to be perfect. You just have to try. Luke watches the hologram multiple times, absorbing the wisdom of a man he never met, but who set in motion the events that shaped his life. Leia receives a different kind of gift. A message from her grandmother, Padme's mother. It's a recording made shortly before she died, full of family stories, advice on leadership, and love. "My dear Leia, even though we've never met, I feel like I know you. Your mother tells me about you in every letter, how strong you are, how determined, how much you care about justice. You remind me of Padme when she was young, so fierce, so certain that she could change the galaxy. And she did, though it cost her greatly. I hope you'll change the galaxy too, but I also hope you'll remember to take care of yourself, to let people help you, to accept that you can't fix everything. The strongest people are the ones who know when to ask for help." Leia treasures this recording, playing it whenever she feels overwhelmed or uncertain. On Dagobah, Qui-Gon's Force Ghost communes with Yoda's Force Ghost. They watch the galaxy together. These two old friends, seeing the results of their teachings playing out across countless worlds. "We did well," Yoda says. "Not perfect, but well. Our mistakes, lessons, they became. Our failures, opportunities for growth." Qui-Gon nods. "The Order we imagined when we were young, this is it. Not the rigid institution we inherited, but something living, breathing, adaptable." They watch as Anakin trains a group of younglings, showing them how to feel their emotions without being controlled by them. They watch as Obi-Wan mediates a dispute between two systems, finding a peaceful solution where war seemed inevitable. They watch as Ahsoka leads a relief effort on a disaster-stricken world, coordinating Jedi, clones, and civilians in perfect harmony. They watch as Mace Windu, once the most rigid traditionalist, teaches a class on the importance of questioning authority, even Jedi authority. "This is our legacy," Qui-Gon says. "Not the battles we won or the enemies we defeated, but the changes we inspired, the willingness to adapt, to grow, to be better." On Mortis, in the realm between realms, the father watches with satisfaction. The son and the daughter stand beside him, finally at peace. "The balance holds," the father says. "The chosen one fulfilled his destiny, not through destruction, but through transformation. The galaxy is not without darkness, but it's not consumed by it either. Light and dark exist together, acknowledged and balanced." The son, who once embodied the dark side's worst aspects, speaks. "I understand now why balance matters. Not the elimination of darkness, but its recognition. Not the suppression of passion, but its proper channeling. Anakin Skywalker learned what I could not." The daughter smiles. "And his children will continue his work, not by repeating his actions, but by building on his foundations. Each generation will face new challenges, make new mistakes, find new solutions. That's the nature of life, of growth, of the Force itself." On Coruscant, 20 years after Palpatine's death, a new generation has come of age. The Republic is stable, prosperous, and just. The Jedi Order is thriving, with academies on dozens of worlds and thousands of knights serving across the galaxy. The Clone Wars are fading into history, taught in schools as a cautionary tale, but no longer a living memory for most citizens. Anakin, now in his 40s, stands on the temple balcony watching the sunset. Obi-Wan joins him, both men older but still strong. "Do you ever think about what would have happened if things had gone differently?" Anakin asks. "If Palpatine had succeeded, if Order 66 had been fully executed?" Every day, Obi-Wan's voice is quiet. "I think about how close we came to total destruction, how one man's evil nearly erased everything we'd built over 1,000 years. But I also think about how far we've come. The order we have now is better than the one we lost. Sometimes I wonder if we needed to almost fall to truly understand what we were supposed to be." Anakin nods. "The dark side taught us about the light. Palpatine's tyranny taught us about freedom. The war taught us about peace. Not by showing us what to do, but by showing us what not to do." They're interrupted by the sound of laughter. Luke and Leia are sparring in the courtyard below, their lightsabers flashing in the fading light. They're evenly matched, Luke's defensive style countering Leia's aggressive attacks. Around them, other young Jedi watch and learn. "Look at them," Padme says, joining her husband on the balcony. "They're so strong, so confident, nothing like the frightened younglings we used to train, because they're not afraid." Anakin observes. They don't fear their emotions, don't fear attachment, don't fear the dark side. They've been taught to understand these things, to acknowledge them without being consumed by them. That's what balance looks like. Padme leans against him. "I'm proud of you, of what you've accomplished. You didn't just save the Jedi. You transformed them into something better. We all did it together. Me, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, Yoda, all the Jedi who were willing to change. And you, helping reform the Republic. It was a team effort, as it should be. The greatest accomplishments are never individual efforts. On Naboo, the documentation center hosts its millionth visitor. The young Twi'lek student walks through the exhibits, studying the rise and fall of Palpatine with fascination and horror. How did no one see it? She asks her teacher. How did an entire galaxy miss the signs? Because they wanted to believe. The teacher responds. Because Palpatine was charming and reassuring. Because people were afraid, and he promised safety. Because democracy is hard, and he made it seem easy. That's why we study this. Not to judge those who were deceived, but to learn the warning signs, so we're not deceived in the future. On Kamino, Omega, the last clone, is now a young man. He's chosen to become a doctor, using his accelerated growth knowledge to help treat aging-related diseases. He works with Shak Ti, who has become one of the galaxy's leading experts on medical applications of the Force. You're saving lives, she tells him, just like your brothers did in the war, but in a different way, a better way. I think about them sometimes, Omega says. All the clones who came before me, who fought and died. I wish I could have known them. You do know them. Rex's courage is in you. Five's is loyalty. Echo's determination. They're all part of you, part of your genetic legacy. But you're also yourself, unique and individual. That's the gift your brothers gave you by fighting for their freedom. On Mandalore, a new generation of Mandalorians trains in the ways of the warrior peacekeeper. They learn hand-to-hand combat and negotiation. They study weapons and diplomacy. They master strategy and empathy. Bo-Katan watches them with satisfaction. This is the way, she says. Not just the Mandalorian way or the Jedi way, but the right way. Strength in service of peace. Power in service of protection. Honor in service of justice. On Ryloth, Hera Syndulla has become one of the galaxy's best pilots. She flies relief missions to disaster-stricken worlds, her ship loaded with supplies and her heart full of compassion. She thinks of her father, of the freedom he fought for, and she continues his work in her own way. On Lothal, Ezra Bridger completes his Jedi training. He's not a traditional Jedi by old standards. He's loud, impulsive, sometimes reckless, but he's also deeply caring, fiercely loyal, and absolutely committed to helping others. His master, Kanan Jarrus, himself a survivor of the near execution of Order 66, couldn't be prouder. You're ready, Kanan tells him. Ready to be a Jedi Knight, to take on your own students, to make your own way in the galaxy. What will you do first? Ezra grins. I'm going back to Lothal. There are people there who need help. Imperial remnants causing trouble. I'm going to show them that Jedi don't just sit in temples meditating. We get out there and make a difference. That's my student. Just remember, making a difference doesn't always mean fighting. Sometimes it means listening. Sometimes it means teaching. Sometimes it means just being there for people. I know. But when fighting is necessary, I'm ready for that too. On Coruscant, the Jedi Council convenes for a historic session. They're voting on a proposal to formally end the Council's authority over all Jedi. Instead, The Order will become a federation of independent academies, each with its own leadership, its own interpretation of Jedi philosophy, its own methods. The Coruscant Temple will remain important, but it won't be supreme. Some council members object. Plo Koon speaks for them. If we decentralize too much, we risk losing our unified identity. We could fragment into dozens of different sects, each claiming to be the true Jedi. Isn't that what we want? Ahsoka counters. Diversity of thought, of approach, of belief. We almost died because we were too rigid, too uniform. Maybe the future of the Jedi is in diversity. Anakin votes in favor of the proposal. The Force speaks to different people in different ways. Why should there be only one correct way to be a Jedi? Let's trust our students to find their own paths. The proposal passes narrowly. The Jedi Order officially becomes the Jedi Coalition, a network of independent academies united by common values, but free to explore different methods. Some focus on combat training. Others emphasize healing. Still others prioritize diplomacy or scholarship. But all are recognized as equally valid paths to understanding the Force. On Exegol, the site of Sidious's hidden fleet, a memorial is erected. It doesn't celebrate victory. It mourns what was almost lost. The inscription reads, "Here stood weapons of mass destruction designed to enslave the galaxy. Here stood the culmination of Sith ambition. Here stood tyranny's ultimate weapon. And here, it was destroyed by those who chose freedom. May we never forget the cost of liberty or the price of vigilance." On Coruscant, 50 years after Palpatine's death, Luke Skywalker, now a middle-aged Jedi Master, gives a lecture to new students at the temple. His hair is touched with gray, his face lined but still youthful. You've all heard the stories of the Clone Wars, of Darth Sidious, of the near extinction of the Jedi Order. You've studied it in your classes. But I want to tell you something those history books might not emphasize. The real victory wasn't killing Sidious. It wasn't surviving Order 66. The real victory was what came after. The willingness to admit we were wrong. The courage to change. The humility to accept that we didn't have all the answers. He looks around the room at the young, eager faces. You're the third generation of the new order. You never knew the old ways, never experienced the rigid code, never felt the weight of traditions that didn't serve the Force. You're being raised in a Jedi Order that embraces emotion, accepts attachment, and understands that balance means acknowledging both light and dark. But don't take this for granted. What we have now, we have because people fought for it. Because my father chose to kill a Sith Lord rather than join him. Because the Council chose to question themselves rather than cling to failing traditions. Because the entire Order chose to evolve rather than die. Your responsibility is to maintain that spirit of growth, that willingness to change. The galaxy will face new challenges. You'll face questions we can't imagine. And you'll need to be brave enough to find new answers, just as we did. Leia, who runs her own Jedi Academy on Alderaan, teaches similar lessons. But her approach is more practical, less philosophical. She takes her students into the field, shows them real problems, teaches them to solve real issues. On one mission to a mining world plagued by labor disputes, she tells her students, The old Jedi would have mediated between the mine owners and the workers, trying to find a compromise. That's not wrong, but it's not enough. We need to ask why the dispute exists in the first place. Usually, it's because there's an imbalance of power, because the workers are being exploited. Our job isn't just to negotiate peace, it's to create justice. And sometimes that means taking sides. She teaches them to investigate, to question authority, to challenge unjust systems. Some traditionalists worry that she's making her students too political, but most recognize that Leia is teaching them to actually help people rather than just maintain order. On Naboo, Padmé's memoir is published. It becomes an instant bestseller, not just for its insider look at galactic politics, but for its honest examination of how democracies fail. She doesn't spare herself, admitting to times she was too trusting, too naive, too willing to believe the best of people like Palpatine. The book's final chapter is titled Eternal Vigilance. It reads, "Democracy is not a state of being, but a continuous act of will. It requires constant attention, constant effort, constant questioning. The moment we become complacent, the moment we stop asking hard questions, the moment we trust our leaders blindly, we open the door to tyranny." Palpatine rose to power, not because he was extraordinarily clever, though he was, but because we allowed it. We gave him emergency powers and never took them back. We trusted him to solve our problems without oversight. We chose security over freedom, convenience over vigilance. The republic we have now is better because we remember this lesson. But memory fades. Generations pass. It's incumbent upon each generation to learn these lessons anew, to remain vigilant, to question authority, to participate actively in their own governance. Freedom is not a gift. It's a responsibility. The book becomes required reading in schools across the Republic, a new foundation for civic education. On Mandalore, Bo-Katan, now elderly, prepares to pass leadership to the next generation. She's chosen her successor carefully, a young warrior named Sabine Wren, who embodies the new Mandalorian way. Strength tempered with compassion, courage combined with wisdom, tradition balanced with innovation. In her final address as Duchess, Bo-Katan reflects on her journey. "I was raised to believe that Mandalorians and Jedi were enemies. I fought against them, tried to kill them, saw them as a threat to our way of life. I was wrong. The greatest lesson I learned is that strength doesn't mean standing alone. It means finding allies, building coalitions, working together toward common goals. My sister Satine knew this. She tried to teach me, but I was too stubborn to listen. It took the Jedi's transformation, their willingness to change and grow, to show me the truth. Now, as I pass on this responsibility, I do so with hope. Hope that Mandalore and the Jedi will continue to work together. Hope that our warriors will be protectors, not conquerors. Hope that our strength will serve peace, not war. On Dathomir, Mother Talzin has also grown old. She passes leadership of the Night Sisters to her daughter, along with the knowledge accumulated over generations. The Night Sisters have become respected members of the galactic community, their Force magic recognized as a valid tradition alongside Jedi teachings. Before she dies, Talzin meets with Anakin one last time. "You changed the galaxy, Skywalker, not just by killing Sidious, but by showing that different Force traditions can coexist. can learn from each other, can enrich each other. I'm just one person. I didn't do it alone. No one ever does. But you were the catalyst, the chosen one, though not in the way the ancient prophecies predicted. You brought balance, not by destroying one side, but by acknowledging both. That's true power, true wisdom. On Coruscant, Anakin, now in his 60s, decides to step down from the Council. He served for decades, helped guide the Order through its transformation, and now it's time for younger voices to lead. His retirement ceremony is attended by thousands. Jedi from across the galaxy come to pay their respects, to thank him for his service, to celebrate what he accomplished. Mace Windu, himself retired, speaks first. When Anakin Skywalker first came to the Jedi Temple, I didn't trust him. I saw his passion, his attachment, his fear, and I thought he would fall to the dark side. I was both right and wrong. He did touch the dark side, did struggle with those emotions I feared, but instead of falling, he integrated them. He learned to acknowledge his darkness without being consumed by it. And in doing so, he showed us all a better way. Obi-Wan speaks next, his voice thick with emotion. Anakin was my Padawan, my brother, my friend. He challenged me at every turn, questioned everything I taught him, refused to follow the rules I held sacred. And thank the Force for that. If he'd been a perfect, obedient student, the Order would have died. We needed someone who wasn't perfect, who struggled, who made mistakes and learned from them. We needed Anakin exactly as he was. Ahsoka is last. When I met Anakin, I was a young Padawan who thought she had all the answers. He taught me that questions are more important than answers, that growth is more important than perfection, that caring about people is more important than following rules. He wasn't a perfect master, but he was exactly the master I needed. And he became exactly the Jedi the galaxy needed. Anakin stands to address the crowd. He's older now, his hair gray, his face weathered, but his eyes still shine with that same intensity that characterized him as a young man. I'm not good at speeches, so I'll keep this brief. Everything I did because I couldn't stand by and watch injustice. Slavery on Tatooine, the Clone Wars, Palpatine's tyranny, the Jedi's blind spots. I couldn't accept things as they were when I knew they could be better. Some people called that impulsive. Some called it reckless. I've been called undisciplined, passionate, dangerous, and all of that was true. But those same traits, those same flaws, are what saved us. Because when everyone else was ready to accept the status quo, I refused. The Jedi Order we have now, it's not perfect. It still has flaws, still makes mistakes, still has room to grow. And that's exactly as it should be. Perfection is stagnation. Growth requires imperfection, requires mistakes, requires the courage to try new things even when you might fail. So my advice to the next generation is this: don't try to be perfect. Try to be true to yourselves, to the Force, to the people you serve. Listen to your doubts. Question authority. Make mistakes and learn from them. And never, ever accept injustice just because It's always been that way. The applause is thunderous. As Anakin leaves the podium, he's surrounded by well-wishers, by friends and former students, by people whose lives he touched. Luke and Leia embrace him, their own children, the next generation watching with wide eyes. Later that evening, Anakin and Padme stand on their apartment balcony, looking out over Coruscant. The city is alive with light and motion, billions of beings going about their lives in peace and freedom. "Do you have any regrets?" Padme asks. "Only one. I wish my mother could have seen this. Everything we built, everything we accomplished, she deserved to see her son become something more than a slave. She sees it through the Force, through you, through our grandchildren. She sees it all, and she's proud." They stand in comfortable silence. Two people who've spent decades together, who've faced darkness and emerged into light. On Dagobah, in the swamps where Yoda once lived, a new presence emerges, a Force ghost, shimmering in the humid air. It's Anakin, or rather, it will be Anakin when his time comes. For now, it's just a glimpse, a preview of what's to come. The Force shows him his future, his inevitable union with the cosmic energy that binds all things. He sees himself as a Force ghost, guiding his children, his grandchildren, future generations of Jedi. He sees the legacy he'll leave behind, not just in the changes he made, but in the example he set. And he sees that the work is never done. Balance is not a state to be achieved and maintained. It's a continuous process, requiring constant adjustment, constant vigilance, constant effort. Each generation will face new threats, new challenges, new temptations. But if they remember the lessons, if they stay true to the principles, if they remain willing to change and grow, they'll be all right. On Mortis, the ones watch all of this with satisfaction. The Father speaks. The cycle continues. Light and dark, peace and conflict, growth and stagnation. But the balance holds because people choose balance every day. That's the real prophecy, the real meaning of the chosen one. Not one person bringing balance once, but countless people choosing balance continuously. The sun nods, and they will fail. Sometimes. There will be dark times ahead, moments when it seems like all this progress is lost. But the foundation is strong now. The lessons are learned, and each failure will become an opportunity to learn, to grow, to become better. The daughter smiles. This is the way it should be. Not certainty, but hope. Not perfection, but progress. Not the end of the story, but the beginning of countless new stories. And so, the galaxy continues. Not perfect, never perfect, but always growing, always learning, always balancing light and dark, emotion and peace, passion and serenity, chaos and harmony, attachment and liberation, death and the Force. The Jedi Order thrives, not as the rigid institution it once was, but as a living, breathing expression of the Force itself. Adaptable, diverse, human. The Republic endures, not as a perfect government, but as a continuous experiment in democracy. Flawed, challenging, worth fighting for. And across countless worlds, people live their lives. They love and lose, hope and fear, succeed and fail. They're guided by Jedi when they need help, governed by elected leaders who serve at their pleasure, and ultimately responsible for their own destinies. That's our theory. The Star Wars galaxy is filled with infinite possibilities, where one choice, one act of courage, one willingness to change can transform everything. The death of Sidious could have meant the end of the Jedi. Instead, it meant their rebirth. Not because they were perfect, but because they were willing to admit their imperfections. Not because they had all the answers, but because they were brave enough to ask new questions. If you want to accompany us on more journeys to a galaxy far, far away, exploring how single moments can change the fate of civilizations, then please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. May the Force be with you always.